What I think is the more important thing is character.
Yeah, but another thing is the communication. Are you willing to have an open, honest conversation? Yeah. Even on things that you may disagree on.
Right.
Because sometimes people don't want to state their opinion because they know the other person has an opposing view.
They want to say what the other person thinks they're going to. And that's the problem of just asking questions instead of really getting to know the person.
Right.
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, this is take 2. This is the Mike Charleston Show. I am Mike Charleston, and we are short one person. We are not short people, but we are short one person. It feels like Groundhog Day.
All over again.
That's right. We have Larry over here.
Hey.
And we have Sarah.
Hello.
Yep. Sarah's here. So try to do everything exactly. We forgot to turn on the cameras. So we had to stop and redo it. So anyway, this is going to be a little bit different of a show. This is going to be more conversation and style. We're going to be talking about what we just got done with the wedding, our wedding, right? Not our wedding.
Our daughter's wedding.
Yeah, Rebecca's wedding. And Larry's going to be going up to Virginia here soon to get his daughter married. And so we thought it kind of appropriate that, hey, we're going to talk about what to look for in a husband and a wife. Now, before you click off right now and be like, oh, I don't want to care. But this is actually good for everyone. If you're an adult, this is good for you to listen to when you have kids. You have kids. Yep. If you're a single person, obviously you want to listen. And if you're newly married, see if you did it right. I don't know. It's a little late.
Well, at least give you a place to start.
That's right.
If you didn't start right.
And by the way, we don't usually do this at the beginning of the show, but maybe we should. We do have a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Fellowship of Believers or the Mike Charleston Show. I forget which one. Is it the Mike Charleston Show? Oh, okay. Go to Mike Charleston Show. You can join us there. There's questions. We post things there sometimes. And come on, I want to know what you think. Yeah, post what you have a comment or something. We want to know what you think. So that'd be good. So anyway, we're going to be talking about what to look for in a husband and wife. Now, obviously, we're married, so we've already done this, right?
Yeah.
So what do we look for? So these are big questions. You know, a lot of people are like, and this is where we don't want to get too down in the nitty and gritty. Like, there are obviously different personality things, but I think there are big glaring things that we want to look for. And this is a Christian show. So if you're not a Christian, well, maybe we should do a different show for you and try to get you to become one. But, you know, we're assuming that everybody out there is Christian. And so the first one we're going to talk about is, well, I guess we have this reversed because I was going to go to, 2 Corinthians 6:14. Why don't you go ahead and read that, babe?
Okay, it says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion hath light with darkness?"
So I switched that up on you.
Oh, good.
But yeah, that is obviously, if you're a Christian, you should be seeking another believer.
Yeah, it's helpful for sure.
And we'll get that here in the Big Four in just a second. Right. But I think that should be obvious, but I know some people might be in a place where they may not be walking like they should, and they get caught up and they fall in love and all this stuff, and they end up married. And it's just like, you got to have some practical things here. And now the verse that Sarah has here is Proverbs 18:22. Which is a unique number. But whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor of the Lord. So I kind of want my wife to hide every day so I can find her.
Yeah, that's
right. So I can find her and say, hey, I found a good thing.
That's right.
And no, but this is it doesn't say that about a husband, though, does it?
It doesn't.
No.
Well, maybe because the man is the one who is supposed to go and look.
Well, that is true.
Good point. That's a good point.
We're a hunter-gatherer, so I've only gathered one wife. So
that's...
Should I be out there hunting some more?
I don't think so.
No.
I was going to say a comment there, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Larry's not going to get in trouble.
I've been in enough trouble.
He's not going to be in, confession's good for the soul.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Big Four here. We're going to talk about the Big Four.
Did you pick the Big Four because this is March Madness?
Oh, no, I didn't even think about that.
Okay.
The Final Four, the Big Four.
Four.
Yeah, that's right. I had no idea. I forgot the brackets were out until Chuck pulled them up last week, and he's like, "Oh, Alabama got a number 1 seed." I think he said.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I was like, "Is this football or basketball?"
I figured you would know more about it than I would.
No, I don't pay attention to college basketball anymore. So nope. So anyway, the Big Four. Now, coming up with the Big Four, people might like, okay, well, what do we mean by the Big Four? Now, these are the 4 things that I think that as you're approaching marriage or thinking about getting in a relationship, the 4 things that people need to think about, talk about, more than any of the other things. These are big issues that cause a lot of arguments in marriage, and in fact, leads to breakups. And so, if you cover these things early on, it might help out.
Well, because these could be the biggest deals after you're married. So before you're married, you need to talk about them.
Yeah. Right. So before marriage, you might some of these might be obvious, like the first one, but a couple of the other ones may not seem as important until they happen, and you might want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Obviously you can change your mind and people can fake you out and, all that, but it's good to at least talk about it. And so anyway, let's get into the Big Four. We don't have a sounder for the little zinger for that. Number one. Number 1 is religion. I think this should be obvious. Once again, we're talking to a Christian audience.
Right, yeah.
Now, we'll expand it a little bit more than just religion. I know people don't like that term religion, but when we're talking about religion, I think people know what we're talking about.
It's a good point, because if you may have some disagreements on some minor things in theology, but if you don't have the basics where you agree on, you're going to have some trouble later on.
Right. I mean, if you're interested in a Catholic and you're not a Catholic, I guarantee it's going to be a problem.
Right. Yeah. Or you're interested in a Muslim, and
that's a real big problem. You may not think, well, he's not really a practicing Muslim. Well, what if he wants to be?
Right.
Later on, or like you're marrying a Catholic and you're like, it's not. Well, what if all of a sudden she finds her Catholicism back and wants it, and it could be a problem later down the road. And so obviously you would want to be like-minded in these things.
Well, but even in the realm of Christianity, I feel like there's just a vast range of what that looks like, and so I feel like being on the same page, there are people that take their Christianity very seriously. They're very, just in a different class than, I hate to say class, but I mean, it's just that there's a broad range of people that call themselves Christians, and so you want to make sure that you're interested in somebody who's kind of where you are.
Yeah, and we're not trying to make judgments here necessarily of everyone needs to be on fire right here. I'd love that. That would be awesome. I would love everyone to love the Lord as much as I do, or more. But it is right. Like, if you're trying to marry above your station in a Christian, you're just a low-level guy in the Christian world, and that sounds very terrible when I say that.
Wow, it sure does.
But you're trying to marry, someone up here. I don't even know how to word it, but maybe be realistic. That hey, we're both going in the same direction. Like, I want to seek the Lord, and my wife doesn't. That's going to be a problem.
Right.
Or, maybe I'm more missions minded and my wife's not. Well, that's going to be a little bit more of an issue. Or, whatever those issues are.
Or it could be just, like you said, you're a Christian, you go to church, you do good things. But if you're the person you're interested in, if they're really on fire.
Well, for some people, that's enough.
Yeah.
They're fine just going to church and playing the part, and they love God, but they don't ever have desires to really do more for God or to maybe know Him on a deeper level. And if you do, then that's going to cause problems.
Yeah, so are you just accepting them as Christians and be like, well, he's a Christian, Mom, so you should accept him, and be like, well, yeah, but does he really care about the things of God? And, so there's different levels. I'm not trying to, paint someone like that. He's just a scumbag over here.
Heathen.
Right. But I'm just saying there's different levels, and if you don't want to be snooty about it, but you have to be realistic that, hey, this person is just happy going to church, but yet he's wanting to pursue you, or she, you're attracted because she's pretty, and she's not really concerned about the things of God. She goes to church, and if that's your test, well, that's not a very good one.
No,
there's a little bit more to the religion aspect.
This one I think is difficult because people can play a part that they're not.
Right.
And
that's where getting to know them really makes a big difference.
show up to church or whatever Bible study we have, and I can participate and talk about what God's doing in my life, and it can be fake. And so that's
what I did to you, so it worked. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
It's a difficult thing to really judge, and that's why, I guess we have more to talk about.
Well, I was going to say, I think this is something that maybe not needs to be discussed first meeting. Right. But something as you're getting, it's serious, you're looking at maybe engagement and something that might...
Pay attention to how they live, not just what they say.
Right, exactly,
because,
that's, I think, the obvious part,
I could say the right things, but it's
that's what we're going to get into here. You're jumping ahead a little bit. But no, that's
at least it wasn't me this week.
But no, it's when we're discussing these things, it's like, okay, are we how specific are we going to get on those theological things? We want to be very careful, like, do we have to agree on every single thing? Or is this person, do they love the Lord? Yeah. Right. How much do they love the Lord? And does it show? Kind of like what you were just saying. Number 2 is... Money.
This should have been probably number 1, maybe.
Oh, wow. You put that before Christianity?
I don't know, man. I think God's number 1, but
Jesus talked more about money than
heaven. But yes, we're not talking about heaven.
Well, some people look at marriage as
maybe somebody can email the show and see if they think money is the most important thing in marriage.
Right.
Well, the reason I say that is I think because that's you look at divorce statistics and money is like at the top.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying because sometimes we just assume. Because we're already, we met at Bible college, and so there was that natural assumption that, hey, we're at least going into the ministry, right?
Right,
so,
yeah.
Well, and there's the natural assumption that we're both dirt poor because we're college students.
That wasn't an assumption, it was the truth.
And going into ministry.
And we had no idea what to do with money at the time.
Right.
But money has, how we handle it is, there's no real way, this isn't something that you can just tell how someone handles money. A little bit, like if they show up in a brand new car, brand new clothes, you're like, looks like he likes to spend money, But it's really, how do they handle their bills? We don't know if they're on time unless you get a little bit personal. Right. And so this one maybe as you're getting into a relationship, this one has to come after that because I'm not going to open up about my finances to just anybody.
Right. But you get an idea, like you said, if they're financing new cars when they working at McDonald's and
and maybe they got mama money,
So that's a good point. It's like I don't know how to say this without if they have a brand
sugar daddy in their life.
But if they're dependent upon their parents, like their parents are paying for everything, right? And
is that a red flag?
What's that?
Is that a red flag?
It could be.
Yeah.
Well, I would say especially for a girl that's interested in a guy, if he's not able to stand on his own 2 feet and he needs to call mommy and say, hey, I'm not sure what to do about rent due.
I'm right here, okay?
Then that should be a flashing light, like maybe he's not quite ready. It doesn't make him a bad person.
Right, it doesn't mean that he's off the list, but maybe we should take it a little slower and grow up a little bit here. Are they spender, saver? I know there's, are you, what if you're both spenders? What if you both say savers? I'd rather be a saver than a spender, but I like to spend money on things that I like to spend money on.
Well, yeah.
Wow. That's fascinating.
For the most part, I'm a saver. So, yeah.
Your kids will be happy if you're both spenders, though.
Yes, they would be. But you can find out these things subtly without really getting into their finances. One of our daughters got engaged and never told them how much money she had in the bank, and nor did they need to. But they want to find out how to deal with finances before. Hey, I've got $100,000 in the bank, and she didn't. I'm just saying.
well, no, but that's a good point because if he's looking at, hey,
this is a cash cow.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for me here.
Right.
From
you don't know reasons why people get married, so save some of those details for later.
But from a guy's perspective, how important is the money thing for you? A guy that, if the girl is a spender or if she's, I
think it's kind of, for us, it's, for me, I can't speak for Larry, but for me personally, I don't like a woman who is frivolous with their money and is gaudy and flaunts and is fashionable and likes to show it and wants to be a part of this culture and all that. And
keeping up with the latest fads. And,
right. Yeah. I'm just, to me, that's not attractive. To me, that shows a worldliness that is not becoming. And so when I was looking around, you weren't cool. You weren't fashionable. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, let's move on to the hypothetical.
wow.
No, but you didn't try to
either, so.
like show yourself off. You weren't trying to like
Right.
look good. That sounds bad. Look,
Well, you weren't spending a lot on getting
I didn't
your hair
spend
done,
a lot on myself.
doing
No,
makeup.
you weren't,
and
but that was fine, But I think we can go overboard, and I'm not saying you can't spend anything, but to like
priorities,
right? To spend all your money at the hair place and the clothes and getting fancy clothes and keeping up with all that. I think that can be a problem. And then maybe on the flip side, maybe you're not looking for a homely looking girl.
Well,
maybe you're not looking for someone who. Shops at thrift stores and is wearing. Well, I mean, maybe that once again, that's our opinion, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, let's be real. If you're looking at what they call it now, catfishing.
Yes.
What is that?
You never heard of that?
No.
Don't worry.
Well, it's if somebody is presenting themselves as something they're not through makeup and hairstyle, or maybe a wig, or what do you call it, extensions.
Yeah.
And you think, wow, look at that. But then you find out they start taking all the makeup off, their wig off, and it's like, oh wait, you're not the same person. That's what they call catfishing.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from, but anyway.
Because catfish have mustache. I don't know.
Whiskers.
Whiskers. I have no idea, but
or like
so under money we have patient and thrifty or hasty or wasteful. I mean, there's different ways to find out, the character of a person, of how much they waste. Now, when we were in college, we didn't have any money to really
waste.
Make judgment, right? Like how could you judge how good I was with money or how you were with money?
I just got lucky because I didn't know.
Yeah, you got lucky. But
well, that's a good. I mean, because that way you can see the person for who they are, because they don't have anything to flash.
Right.
It's and the little bit of money you do have. How do you handle it?
Right.
What do you do?
And I think that's very, very important. But once again, it's what you're looking for. Right. I know some guys out there are like, well, I want a more refined woman. I don't want her shopping at secondhand stores and trying to make herself look terrible. And I'm like, well, I get it, but that's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for.
Well,
There's
and are
plenty
you
of it
going
out
to
there.
be able to provide that for her?
What's that?
If you're,
you better be able
to keep up with her, getting everything, her
Right,
nails done every so often, and all
are
of
you
that.
willing to shell that money out?
Right.
Well, and I think seeing where you came from. So, like, you coming from Mr. Rich Kid.
Oh, my goodness. Whatever.
And so it's like,
I don't think so, Tim.
Okay. But I mean, whoever you're interested in, they've lived a certain lifestyle.
Right.
And so that's at least going to play a part. They don't have to continue that, but at least okay, you're used to kind of having
Yes,
nice
I had
things.
a sophisticated childhood toward the end. I knew how to act in public and
that's
stuff
not
like that.
what we're talking about.
Well, no, but if you got two different people coming from two different economic backgrounds, one maybe from an affluent family and one from a poor family,
Right. That could be a problem.
It could be a big problem.
Yeah, and the good thing about my family was they never gave me anything. Like they just, I should say they never gave me anything, but they didn't like just give me money.
Right.
I never got an allowance. It was just, I had to earn those things.
That's
and so, yes, we might have had a little bit more of affluence than maybe you guys did, but looking at your family in the future, they made some money too.
They did.
They just made different choices and different
didn't,
things. So, Larry never had any money. So anyway, let's move on to number 3. Kids.
Yeah.
This is a big one. So the kids, like, do you want kids or do you not want kids? That should be at the very basic.
Right.
If you're getting in a relationship and she's like, I don't want kids, and you're wanting kids, well, I think you're at an impasse at the very beginning.
Well, maybe. Maybe not. Well, because I know somebody who's kind of in this situation.
Yeah, so do I. We might be thinking of the same person.
Maybe we should just keep it hypothetical.
It's very hypothetical. I'm trying to keep it hypothetical.
Well, because, and I told them, I said, look, you don't need to put any pressure on it now. One, you're not even married. And two, that can change.
It can, but it usually doesn't.
It changed for
that's
us.
why you need to. That's true. You know, it did. But both of you were on the same page.
Well, that's true. It's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
You were both on the same page of we don't really want kids. And then as you got married, you were like, yeah, we want kids.
After 6 years.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. You know, but I think that is the point was you guys were on the same page at the beginning. And, you know, for this hypothetical person that we're talking about, if he knows going in, he shouldn't be surprised.
Well, yeah.
If they don't change.
Well, that's true. And if we're talking about the same person.
Yes, we are.
And he's fine with her position on not having kids.
I hope he doesn't listen.
That's okay.
No, but I think this is a very important point, that we don't think about it until we get married. And it's like, well, of course we're going to have kids. And we're like, well, wait a minute. We didn't talk about, I really don't want kids right now. Or the amount of kids.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
As I say, if somebody came from a very large family and they're like, I'm okay with maybe 1 or 2 max.
Yeah.
And you're hoping to have a huge family, well, that's going to be a problem. And obviously it could change.
Yeah, some of that might be moot because what if you can't have kids?
Well, yeah.
But the discussion should be had at least. Like, what is your expectations of family? You know, what's the size do you want?
Well, and I think when it comes to kids too,
do you want large kids or do you want skinny kids? I mean, not that size.
It should be where both husband and wife are in agreement, and if they're not, then they shouldn't. Like if one wants a large family, let's say the husband does, but the wife doesn't. The husband should take into consideration his wife.
Absolutely.
And maybe come to a compromise where if he wants 12 and she doesn't want any, maybe 6. Meet in the middle.
That's a big compromise.
We'll just do 6. Okay.
But to be fair, you're right. The husband has to be aware of this. And when you're out there hunting, you know, you're looking around and saying, hey, here's one that I'm interested. Oh, she doesn't want to have kids. I want kids. Well, how important is that?
Right.
You know, and you have to just say, okay, well, maybe I can persuade her, or maybe she's just had a bad experience in her family, so that's why. And once she'll come around. Well, but you have to be realistic, and that may never happen.
You're right.
And are you all right with that?
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good point.
You just have to you have to talk about that. You know, you can't just expect that we're going to be on the same page. Just assume. You know,
expectations.
Yes, ruin relationships. We know that. So and how to run what about kids? How are you going to discipline them?
Right.
You know. How are you going to raise them? Now, I guarantee you that when you're 22 years old or 21, 8, 19, whatever it is, and you're courting someone or you're in a relationship with someone and you're talking about your idea of raising kids, that is going to totally change. But you still need to have that conversation.
You got to have a plan.
Yeah, you got to have a plan, at least on the same page somewhat.
Right.
You have a dizzying intellect.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How many families, I can think of a couple where it's been an issue where they have a large family, but one of them didn't want it.
Right.
And it's caused a lot of trouble.
Sure.
So that's something, it's something to talk about.
It is. You want to be on the same, because that is going to create problems, because kids create problems.
Yeah. And if you're having trouble in your marriage,
don't add another one.
Yeah, don't have kids thinking that's going to fix it, because
it usually doesn't fix it.
No, it doesn't work that way.
But you got to have an idea of your kids. Now, the fourth one, and this one might not seem as big of a deal, but honestly, the people that I've talked to and people we've counseled, this ends up being a pretty big deal.
It could, yes.
And that is number 4 is in-laws.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, Larry, go ahead.
Where do you want me to start?
No, it's a joke.
Yes. What is the difference between in-laws and outlaws?
I don't know, Larry. Tell me.
Outlaws are wanted.
That's right. So yes, we always love that.
One of
That's
those.
right. I'm a in-law, but anyway, in-laws. So which set should we live by? That's a big
Neither.
question. Either, neither, right? Both. It depends on maybe you live in the same town as both, and
Could be.
maybe you have good relationships with both. Maybe there's issues and you want to live further away from them. You have to discuss this. You
Right.
can't just assume.
Right.
We had this conversation last night,
Right?
Jenny, Kate, and I.
Okay.
And
They want to move away from you?
well, they are, but
Right.
no. But I said, because they're going to live next to or near his parents,
Right.
And they're good people. We've met them. We
Yeah,
really
yeah.
like them. But I said, do you think if there is an issue, do you think he's going to be willing to stand up and say, no, this is my family now? And,
Right.
Yeah.
And
I don't think so.
Oh,
Jeff.
maybe he will. I don't know. I don't know.
no, but that is something. If you're if you're a young lady and you're looking at marrying a young man, but it seems like his mom is controlling him, that should be a red flag.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Move.
that's why I
Don't do
have
it. Or
that verse there, Genesis 2:24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
Right. The Bible talks about a man leaving his family, not a
Yeah.
woman. Now, I'm not
Right.
suggesting that a woman stay in the house and just you move in with your family, but the indication is for sure that a man has to leave his family, because if you have strings, if you have mom, dad have strings on, you can never become a man.
No,
you're
you won't.
you're
Yeah.
going to struggle becoming a man. And I know in our circles, the movement is for men to build a house on their mom and dad's property. I think that's really bad.
yeah, bad
Yeah.
idea.
That's really, really bad idea.
I mean, if you've been married 30 years and your parents,
right.
that's
right.
a little
Now you're there to
different.
take care of your parents.
Right.
Yeah, but if you're just starting out,
Yes. Yes.
very rarely would I say that would be okay. But
Yeah, it would be almost if there was an abusive situation or just something bad happened and you got to
Yeah.
bring someone in. It would be a very rare situation
Yeah.
and you have to have parents that are willing to not get involved. And
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
very hard. Because let's be fair, parents, we struggle with this.
Yeah.
We struggle
Yeah.
with control. We struggle with telling our kids what to do because we've been telling them what to do for 18 years.
Well-
and now it's like, I still want to tell you what to do because you don't know what you're doing.
and part of it is they don't know, and
Right.
you want to try to help them, but it can be controlling at the same time.
Right.
And that's a good point. The man should leave because it's now his house.
Right.
He's establishing his house.
And
Right.
parents, if you're out there listening, and hopefully it's more than just the single people, but if parents are listening, we have to understand this, that the temptation, and this isn't just a homeschool thing, by the
No,
way.
it's
Right.
not.
I've talked to many people in this area that I clean their windows, and I can tell that there are issues with their kids
Yeah.
because they want their kids to do something, and the kids fight back, and so it's not just a Christian issue; it's a parenting issue.
Well, I mean, just to get personal, this was an incident with my parents. I had to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do that.
Right, and that
'Cause
caused big problems.
It caused some big problems. But,
Right.
But I knew it was the right thing to do.
Sure.
It wasn't what I wanted, but I was put in a situation where I had to stand up because my wife was being attacked, and I said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, and it's hard to fight back when you're sitting down, so you had to stand up.
That's true.
So you had to stand up. That's it.
But it was my mom. My mom wanted to control things, and I said, no, we're not going to.
Yeah, it's usually the women, right? Are you going to defend yourself over here? No, okay, no, okay.
What do you mean it's usually the one? Okay, well, it's true.
Moms tend to be moms.
Yeah.
Right.
Because honestly, to be fair to women, guys check out, way before
Yeah.
the kids are
Yeah.
out of the house anyways. And so it is the women who do seem to care a lot more, and they
Right.
still
Well,
want
you
to
raised
mother.
them.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. And they do want to mother them along. And in fact, like today, Jeremiah was getting his wisdom teeth out, and we're calling because we're concerned. How's he doing? But we're not telling Abby what to do. How to. Well, actually, she did ask.
Well, she called me and asked me for advice. So I felt like it was fine
Well,
for me to
yeah,
give
that's
advice
different, yeah.
then because she asked for it.
Yeah.
But I do try to realize that, it would be the temptation would be to, kind of tell her what to do. And even with Jeremiah, to tell him things that I think he should do. But it's like, it's time for him to live his life.
Well, I did tell him to stop wrestling.
Okay, well,
Well,
anyway.
yeah. See, you guys are in a kind of a different situation than where I am because you have two married now.
Yeah, no.
And they live in town here.
They do. They
So-
live pretty close.
Right.
And all yours are moving away from you.
Well, yeah, that's true. Thanks for that painful reminder. Not all. We still have two.
You still got two, that's for sure. What were you going to do?
One's not old enough, but
Oh, yes. So, okay. So how involved do we want to be? I'm sorry, Joshua. Can we get, the in-laws thing is a very, very big issue. Yeah. The, families, and that goes two ways, in-laws are both ways. And so how involved are the families going to be? You can check that out a little bit beforehand. Yeah. And we're going to take a little bit of a break and come back and tell you we're going to tell you where we are in some of these things. So, all right.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back, and this is the halftime show, I guess. And Abigail's not here. No, Abigail.
Oh.
Yeah, she's actually
a replacement.
No, we might do Joshua. I don't know. We've been coming up with different ideas and getting the producer on, but it seems like Joshua is a little camera shy, which is ironic because
I don't know about all that.
He doesn't like to hear his voice.
He's all right.
Do you like to hear your voice? He's shaking his head no.
Who does really?
I don't really, but I don't edit it as much, so
that's true.
I don't really hear it again once.
I got used to it.
Okay,
from
my
voice. Too,
okay.
And mine. I think I sound really funny, but
you what? You do?
I do.
You do.
But I've gotten used to it because I listened to the show so many times.
Yeah, you do get used to it. It's funny at first, but anyway,
it seems weird.
So instead of the game time with Abigail, we're not doing game time with Abigail. Oh, I know that's everyone's.
At least I won't lose.
That is true. You. So this past week we had another wedding, and Rebecca, our daughter, got married. Yep. It was a really big deal. It was a lot different than Jeremiah's wedding, and the fact that she was our daughter, not our son. Which
I was wondering how it was a lot different, but yes, it was a different.
I did Jeremiah's wedding, which I was honored to do and glad to do, and I guess I was just so focused on doing that, and I was so happy for him. And I'm happy for Rebecca, but I guess it's just different. And
your
and
first
Larry,
daughter,
yeah. And
I heard you were crying.
What's it to you?
Your turn's coming.
Yeah, you wait.
I've already started.
I almost made Larry cry, and he was doing the wedding, and he was doing the wedding for Rebecca and Cameron. And
it does feel a lot different.
Did it look like we were crying?
No, I heard about it after though. Before you went.
But while I was walking down, you said you almost lost it.
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
It does feel a lot different to have a daughter married than a son.
Yeah.
Like it's a different.
It's like way to go, feel. Son, and it's like, oh my goodness, my daughter.
But not my little girl.
Yeah. So, but we love Cameron, and so it's all a good thing. We're all for the marriage. It's not like we're sad for them. It's just sad that she's leaving, and I guess for a father's perspective, I feel like I've got to protect my daughters from all these rascals out there, and now she's going off
with one of them rascals,
and she's no longer. and I guess it was especially hard for me because I had been working with her for the last 2.5 years.
She didn't die.
I know, but we would drive to work, and we would have those conversations, and we'd talk about just anything, and we're very much alike. Rebecca and I are very, very similar in a lot of ways. So we definitely connect. I know sometimes if you're very similar, that creates problems. Yeah. I never had problems with Rebecca. It was like she was the perfect child, and not that my kids are all bad, but like from the very moment when she was a baby, she hardly cried. She was just easygoing. Yeah. She's like, whatever, Abigail's going to take over. So what's the point? Yeah. And then Hannah came, and she's like sandwiched in between two people who want to take over. So she's like, whatever. But no, it was a beautiful wedding.
I was actually surprised at. To me, it seemed really simple. And maybe it's because of all the help. We had a lot of help, especially from the Tates and people up in Mississippi, whatever. Sure, so, I mean, I'm thankful for all the help that came together. But I just felt like it really was smooth. Like, it wasn't stressful. You hear so many people with all the stress.
I was a little stressed, but whatever.
Really?
Well, there's a couple things that, weren't
I mean, it was busy. Like, there was always something to do, but it was...
Like, I called out the sound people.
Oh, well, yeah.
I opened the door and I just said, I wish the sound people would come here. And there she was standing in front of me.
That's right.
I was
Right
like,
here.
oh, hey,
Whoopsie.
glad you're here. I need you over here. But anyway, no, it was.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, both Rebecca and Cameron are very laid back, and they were kind of like, we're fine with whatever. And so
Sure,
that
yeah.
helped a lot.
I thought they did I was really nervous for them because they were
They were
going to
nervous.
read their vows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, ooh, I don't know. But they did a great job.
They
I
did.
should have read mine because I messed mine up.
I don't know if it would have helped if you would have read it.
Probably not. I didn't say, "And all my worldly goods I thee endow."
Right.
I said, "All my worldly goods I be endowed." I couldn't remember what he said.
Except when everybody started laughing, he realized, oops, I said
just laughed with
something
him.
wrong. It's like,
And-
oh, well.
Yeah, whatever. And the ironic part was I had no money, so
He had
I-
nothing to give me.
No,
No worldly goods to give
I
me.
had no worldly goods to be endowed, but whatever. Anyway, so it was good. It was very good. It was pleasant to see there was a bunch of listeners there. The show consultant was there.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't really get a chance to talk to him. We weren't able to go to his daughter's wedding, but he showed us up by coming to ours.
I know.
And I was
Felt
like,
bad about
oh
that.
man, you're awesome.
Well, I got to spend the weekend with him.
That's
the
true.
The
That is
weekend
true.
before.
Yeah, yep.
A good time.
So no, it was good to see him, and obviously the Mississippi people, the Dutois
Yeah.
helped out a good bit, and the Tates were Chuck, who's not here to defend himself, looked like a butler. I mean, he had the apron on, and
Oh,
he
yeah, that's right,
he looked
yeah.
like he could have been in like one of those period pieces.
Yeah.
And he's making all the food and
They
serving.
did a great
They
job.
did
I mean,
it,
they
yeah.
cooked jambalaya all day, and we
Yes, they
actually
did.
had plenty.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. We had 12 big things of jambalaya for the wedding. We ended up using 5. Not
Yeah.
because people didn't show up. About the amount of people
Yeah.
showed up as we thought.
I don't know how our math was off or
Someone's
whatever.
math. We
but
need
I
to go
told
do
Jeannie,
math
'cause
again.
we were cutting it close with the number we knew
Yes,
had
I know.
RSVP'd. And I said, well, we'll just pray that God will multiply it.
He did.
Well, he did, but he didn't
Yeah,
need
we were
to.
wrong. We were so far off. So we're going to be eating jambalaya for the next
It was really good, though.
It was good,
It was
yeah.
good. Yeah, it was good. So it was so good that the guy I work with, Steven, his wife she was like, I want to be invited to all the Charleston weddings.
That's
And,
nice.
Yeah, she was like, I just enjoy them. They seem so pure and just lovely, and I like the people. And I'm like, oh, I that's a nice compliment.
Yeah, that is nice.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was so yeah, it was a good wedding. We're talking about this subject mainly because of this that
Yeah.
we're talking about today, and it's you spend 20 some years for Rebecca, 21 years, almost 22 years, raising them up, living them in our house, and trying to find people in this world,
Yeah.
and he was here the whole time.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
Yeah.
but it was
all those broken hearts now.
I know.
Well, and just the past few years, after they finish high school and they're kind of wondering, what do I do? And kind of that limbo stage, which is really hard especially for young girls, I
Yeah.
think. And I just remember so many times, like, just trying to help her to hold on because you just don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
If you could see that, in 3 years I'll be married and starting a family, then it's fine to just wait. But it's not knowing, well, it could be 10 years that go
Yeah.
by and I'm
Yeah,
still sitting here.
It's a hard thing to figure out, and
Yeah.
we're not really talking about that in the show today, but maybe we should. So,
Well, you reminded me because in my situation with Jen and Kate, she's gone to Virginia. She's helped out Ben and his farm and stuff, and she's always been gone. Not always, but she's the last year she's been in and out quite a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it's always been she's coming back.
Right.
This time
it's not coming back.
she's not coming back.
Larry's going to start tearing up. We got
know.
to change subject.
Well, and that's why
Make him
it's-
cry. Make him cry.
That's why it's, kind of nice, not that sounds bad, but that Abigail's gone up to Tennessee right
Yeah.
now because this time she is coming back. And so it's kind of like the practice,
Right, yeah.
like, okay, we can practice not having her here for a while. And
She's hardly here anyways, so I think we're getting used to it. But I know.
I know
It's-
somebody's not.
I know.
Yeah.
Sarah's having a hard time with this, but
that's going to be hard. but
hopefully
that's
she's not
okay.
going to be one of those controlling moms. And be like, I'm just saying hopefully. I don't think you will be, but
I don't think you'd let me be.
No, you're too sweet for that anyways.
I don't think so
you
either.
have anything you want to say about the upcoming wedding? Because Larry's going to be gone the next couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
we're going
And-
to Virginia, and hopefully the weather's going to be good because they picked an outside wedding.
I was going to say they're going to the chapel and they're going to get married,
Yeah,
but
right.
actually they're not going to the chapel.
Yeah, they're going to the river.
They're going to the river.
He
Going
said
to-
something about bringing a van.
Down by the river?
Living in a van.
Hopefully not.
No, I hope not. No, actually, the guy she's marrying, he's got a good job, and he seems to be pretty level-headed. He's a little immature, but
Wow, you just said that on the air.
but he's young. Right?
Inconceivable.
Well, I mean, he is 18.
Yeah, he's kind of goofy, but he's fun, and he's
Keep going.
no. I like Jeremiah. He's
Well,
a
you know
good
what?
guy.
I think it's sometimes good when people start off their marriage young because you really get to finish growing up together.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And
I like that.
we'll get into this, but about the money and stuff. Jenna, Kate, and I went out on a date last night.
Yeah.
And we talked about these things. So.
So you
Okay.
want to dig down anymore? That's good.
Oh well, yeah. We talked just about that, in-laws and money and jobs and things like that, and
Yeah.
they seem to have a good perspective.
Yeah. Yep. So good. All right, Joshua. I think that's a good bit. If people really care about our wedding, they could come. But actually, they couldn't because they didn't invite that many. So anyway, all right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get out and we'll finish up the rest of the show.
Thank you for listening to the Mike Charleston Show.
Okay, we are back, and we're going to finish this off here. We just got done with the big four, and that last one was the in-laws, and we talked about that, but we kind of rushed it at the end there, and I want to reiterate how important that is. Like Larry was saying how earlier that, off the air, that it is a good thing to go and visit the other person's family. Now, obviously, this is easier when if you happen to be in the same town.
Yeah.
And go and see them in their element a little bit more. Hang out with their family with them. Don't just go over to their house and like you're in the back room somewhere. You see them together because you want to see what the family thinks, and you want to see what you're getting into.
Yeah. The more times you can do that, the better.
Yeah.
Because the more relaxed they're going to be in their own environment.
Right. And you can start really seeing a good bit. You could talk to the siblings and like, so tell me about your sister or your brother.
Yeah.
And
another thing is to play games.
Play games.
Yeah. Play games, work.
No, because I have a bad attitude when it comes to games. So.
But at least then your future spouse will know that,
very competitive.
he's a sore loser. Good to know.
I don't know about anything about that.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think so, Tim.
But yeah, you can learn a lot about a person by working together.
Yep, working together. And that was kind of like, I forget who it was. I think it was Debbie Pearl. Like you want to find a spouse, well, get busy working, doing work with the Lord, doing work, and just look next to you and be like, hey, look at you. And that's kind of like what we did. We were both doing the same thing and at Bible college and doing the same work. And it was just like,
I do like the idea of both, the girl and the guy both spending time visiting the other family.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very important, and that's the best way you're going to really know who that person is, because if, you just come and see me with my family, you're going to get to know who I am, but I don't really know who you are because I don't ever see you in your relaxed state.
You're right. That is very important. No, we got to move on here or we won't finish the show. So a list of questions. So, okay, this is where we want to start. This next part of the show here is, so the big four, those are talks. But now I've knowing in a lot of our circles, though, we have a bunch of questions. We want to get to know someone quickly. And this usually works at camps. We put on a camp every year, and it's a 3-4 day weekend, and you've got to get to know someone. Well, the quickest way is just ask them questions, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not against asking questions, but here's the list of questions. How much stock should we put in those questions? Those answers.
Some of these, I mean, if you're just getting to know somebody, it's like, it's really not the time to ask those.
Yeah, some of them could be very personal.
Right.
You want to get very vague at first and maybe ask other questions. Be kind of sly about these questions.
Right, but then you move into you're in a relationship or courting or whatever, and so people will collect questions over the years. And our kids have thought about different questions or
Here's
whatever.
a list of 200 questions. Answer them and let's see if you
I've
pass.
heard of people having hundreds of them, and and that's fine. Like I feel like as long as it's good conversation starters, I feel like
before we
that's
can
okay.
move forward, I need you to answer these in essay form.
Right, please. and that could be kind of cold and calculated there, but it is.
Yeah, you got to work on the delivery part of this. Be a little more sly
you
about
work it out, you talk it through. It's just I feel like once you get down to this questions, if there's every wrong answer, there's a lot of pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what if I said the wrong thing? And here's where it goes, because there's some important questions, like do you want kids, your career,
Sure.
do you want to work or not work, do you want to homeschool or not?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of not important questions. Like there was an incident, maybe I don't know if I want to say this on the air, but like there was a question of the spacing of kids. And it was like, oh, they want to space them 2 years. And they're like, no, we want to spit them out even more. And I was like, you may not even have kids. This isn't a valid issue.
Or you may have, the plan you have now may not work out.
Right. You may have difficulties in pregnancies, and you just have no clue what you're even talking about. So a lot of these questions might be silly.
Well, and I feel like some people try to ask all these questions in order to prevent any problems in a marriage. It's like, well, we've talked about, we went through the 600 questions. We know we're all on the same page. Therefore, we're good. And I'm like,
smooth sailing now.
But it doesn't work like that in life.
Only if it would.
So what I think is the more important thing is character.
Well, looking at the character, but another thing is the communication. Are you willing to have an open, honest conversation, even on things that you may disagree on?
Right.
Because sometimes people don't want to state their opinion because they know the other person has an opposing view.
They want to say what the other person thinks they're going to. And that's the problem of just asking questions instead of really getting to know the person.
Right.
So I know some of these places, it's hard to really get to know people, and you just meet someone and you're like, wow, I really like this person, but how do I get to know him real quickly? And it's hard to get a feel for that in a short time.
Yeah.
But you've got to spend some time. You got to take it slowly sometimes. I know sometimes it's like, no, let's go. It's okay to just take
slow down a little bit.
Slow down just a bit.
One thing before a character is you have on here a career for life.
Right.
This is something Jenny, Kate, and I talked about last night because they don't want to have kids right away, which is, I think that's good. And that's something they talk about.
Yep.
But I said, well, my advice to you is, you have an opportunity. She doesn't necessarily have to work because he does make enough money that they can live.
Oh, he's Mr. Big Bucks, huh?
Well, I mean, starting out, I wish I would have started out making what he's making. But I suggested, because she likes to flip furniture.
Strong.
Yeah. Flipping it. She'll go on Facebook and get used furniture, usually for free, fix it up and sell it. And I said,
it's a nice side business.
Yeah, it's a side business. I said, my advice to you is stick with that rather than go out and get a job, because typically what happens is you get accustomed to that income.
Yep.
And then kids come along and it's like, ooh, because it may start off, well, I'm working part-time. Yeah, but if you worked a few more hours, we could do this or whatever. And then next thing you know, you have a full-time job.
Yep.
And then where do kids fit in? Because now you're used to 2 incomes. How are you going to drop down to 1? And
if that's important to you, you need to consider that. Like if you don't care, if you want 2 incomes and you don't want kids and all that, well, then those are your goals. But if these things are very important to you, you have to be very intentional about it, or else these things just slowly weed your way out of your life, and then it becomes not very important.
And what a better thing for a young lady starting off with marriage is to have something just kind of on the side. It's not
job-wise.
Right. It's a little bit of income, and it's something to do with your time.
Yep.
And even if kids come along, it's something you could squeeze, you could still fit it in.
Sure.
But it's not a full-time commitment.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So that's something to think about.
Yeah, communication is very vital. Obviously, be honest with each other, because this is your life decisions you're making, and spending time with them, going to their parents' house, going and visit their family will help that. You can only be fake for so long, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But character, I find, is much more important than anything here. Obviously, being a Christian, but that's assuming we're all on the same page there. But character, like, to me, some of those questions and all those theological issues, like, we are so different when we first met.
we're different now than we were then.
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Than when we first met, like theologically wise, and some of the things we will believe. And some of the things that we even talked about, we've changed. Yeah. But the character hasn't really changed. And if it has changed, hopefully it got better, right?
Yeah.
So, but our the character thing. So when we say character, we're talking things like, are these people honorable? Do they take purity very seriously? Yeah. Are they honorable with their parents? Are they honorable with their friends, their jobs? Honest? Do they keep their word? When they say they're going to do something, are they going to do it? And I know this one kind of came up like, well, sometimes people overpromise. Yeah. And that can be a problem. But, I'd rather have someone overpromise and not deliver. I would rather them not do that. But than someone who's always promising they'll do something and then finding excuses to get out of things.
But these are where you can't just ask questions, because if I just say, okay, well, I need to ask these questions.
You keep your word?
Yeah. Yes. Are you honest? Are you,
These are things you observe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You pay attention. Are people know this about this person? Are they loyal?
Yeah. Work ethic. That's a big one.
Yeah. Work ethic's huge.
I mean, you can see that in like gatherings. Are they someone who's willing to get up and help?
Right.
When needed, or like at the wedding, afterwards, there's so many people helping to clean up.
Yeah, that's a tough one to judge sometimes, because at an event you're there to have fun and you don't always think. But it's a good idea to look around maybe, and while you're sitting there doing nothing, watch and look. Oh no,
you're not helping, but you're looking to see who is.
Once again, there you're working together. You might bump into someone and be like, "Hey, how was the wedding?" You look pretty good in that outfit. But loyalty to me, that's a big one. Maybe because I'm loyal. I'm a loyal dog, and I'm loyal to my friends, my family, my job. I can't let go, right? And but to me, how do they treat a job situation? Are they just willing to quit because things get tough? Are they loyal? Do their friends, they disagree with their friends, they get new friends. They're just willing to give up friends. So to me, loyalty is a big sign. Yeah. If they're willing to just quit things, that's a big red flag. This is what we call character. Yeah. So work ethic, lazy or not, look, I'm kind of lazy sometimes, but when I'm on the job, I'm a hard worker, and I hope that shows. And so I think we're all lazy on something at some point.
Well, yeah.
And obviously when you're getting to know someone, everyone's lazy because you just sit there and look at each other and talk but there is that getting to know. You should be able to point some of those things out. Respectful, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's why spending some time with their family is important, because sure, they can fake it, but all of a sudden they get around their brothers and sisters and they're like, man, shut up. And you're like, whoa, man, look at that. They're not very respectful of their parents. They just told them what to do. And the parents just asked them to do something. They said no, It's
give a little attitude. And
Yeah. Are they responsible? So these are some of the character things. Character to me is more important than the list. You can ask them questions. There are certain questions that are very important. Don't get me wrong. But theological issues some of them are very important. Like if you're a Calvinist and I'm not, that's going to be a problem. Are you charismatic and I'm not? That might be a problem. But some of those little issues, they work themselves out. Right. If you have character, like I would rather a person that is hardworking, respectful, than believes exactly that I believe.
Right.
I might be wrong. My beliefs.
And those things can change.
Yeah, exactly.
It's harder to change. It's harder to change character.
Sure.
It doesn't change too much. It's kind of who you are. Yeah. But if you're looking and you realize you don't have some of these good character, then maybe you should wake up and work on that. I need to keep my word. I need to be more honest. Yeah. I need to be more loyal, and I want to show myself to be respected. Because if you're trying to attract, you're not going to attract someone that is all these things and you're not.
Right.
Very rarely do the people who have good character are attracted to bad character. It just usually doesn't work out.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so here's another one real quick as the show is coming to an end here. Counsel. Counsel is extremely important, and not just your peers. And this is the problem with a lot of young people. Yeah. They don't want to talk to old people about these things. They want to talk to their friends, and it's fine.
How'd that work out for, was it King Solomon's son, Rehoboam?
Yeah, he got into trouble. Big trouble.
Should have listened to the old guys.
Well, and most people, a lot of young people think their parents, they're too out of touch, they don't understand,
and they
don't know, and they might be.
But they have experience.
Yeah.
And it's good to it's fine to talk to your peers, but it's good to really talk to
someone who's lived it.
Well, and here's the thing, people ask about pre-marriage counseling, and I'm like, yes, you should do it. Like, why? I have the Bible. I'm like, well, find someone that will help you talk through a lot of these issues that we just talked about. And because you're in love. Yeah. And you can't see past, you're
all googly eyed and
right. I was going to tell a joke right now, but I'll tell you off the air. And because I think we've already had too many edits. So it was a quote from Bobby Orr. It was really funny. And but anyway, the counsel is extremely important. Proverbs 11:14 says what, babe?
Where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety.
There is safety when you're getting a multitude. What do you think? If everyone is telling you this is a bad guy or this is a bad girl, you should really heed that.
Yeah.
They all might be wrong, but chances are you're blind.
Yeah.
And you should really heed.
Well, and that's the thing, too. When you're in that situation and you are all googly-eyed and starry-eyed, you're not really looking at things rational, and you need somebody, and usually it's probably better somebody older, hopefully one of your parents,
right.
that can tell you tactfully, but honestly.
Yeah, and if it's a number of people that really should.
Yeah, and if you're getting a lot of people saying, what are you doing?
Right, you should really. Okay, so Proverbs 12:15.
The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise.
So once again, these are just wise things to consider before you even get into marriage, before you commit. You should really sit down with someone maybe. And I know this is pre-marriage counseling, so usually they wait until they're engaged and then they get the counseling. Honestly, I would maybe you should talk about these things, help people to work you through these issues, and it might go better for them. And obviously, it's not foolproof. You're not, everything's always going to be perfect just because you talked about it. You have to, in a marriage, you have to continue to work these things out, constantly. Yep. And here's the thing that you wrote down, and I like this. I know some people forget about this, especially in our circles. We get so rigid, and we got our lists, and we get all these things, but do you actually like the person?
Yeah.
Do you love the person? Do you like to be around this person? And I know
you talk about being googly-eyed.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's important.
It is important.
Right.
Especially
you should be taken.
off. If you don't have that kind of sparkle and all googly-eyed, then
reconsider.
Yeah.
Right. They might check all the boxes, and it's fine if you get married. You got to make it work, right? But it's like we have choices in this world. There's billions of people. You can find someone you actually like.
Yeah, somebody you want to be around.
Right. And I know that this is the problem with this. This is why we saved it for last, is because some people, most of our culture has it reversed, and we just find someone we really are just entranced, and we just wow, we love this person, and we don't talk about these issues. Yeah. We don't talk about the major things, and we're in love because we're in love, and that's a big failing.
Yeah,
in our culture. So then when all of a sudden the big issues come up, we're like, oh, I had no idea. I'm like, you guys are getting married and you didn't talk about this? What are you talking about? But I do think there has to be some kind of spark. There has to be do you like looking at each other in the eyes, and does it create some kind of feelings in you? Because if it doesn't, you have no soul. you gotta. What's
you
wrong
might want
with
to
you?
find somebody else, because that's a bad start.
Yes, you should be able to, be able to look forward to seeing that person and wanting to, touch their hand. Is that nice? Yes. And
is this a kissing?
It should be. It should be getting there, and
if you don't have that at the start,
right,
then you're probably not going to have that,
right,
ever.
Yeah. Right.
So,
it's hard to build that there. And we don't want to base it on that. Any relationship that's just totally based on feelings is ridiculous. And that's what I said. Like I said, America is based on that. But you should have feelings.
Well, and that's how your love starts to grow. Is you start off with that infatuation.
Yep. Puppy love.
Yeah, and it grows from there. It should.
But
if you don't start there, it's going to be hard to grow.
That's
from there.
a good place to where it starts, and then you're like, okay, if I got to pursue this and see is she a good character person, and then usually it fades, and you're like, no. And
if you're not making people sick with all your sweetness and around you, then you're probably off to a bad start.
Yeah, exactly.
We made our share of people sick.
Yeah,
so
we did, and so I would encourage that. That's very touchy issue sometimes, because it's like, well, how much do we show? We want to be respectful in public. I totally understand all that, but Well, you can't. If you're a human, you can't help but just be drawn to the person you're going to commit yourself to.
Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna commit your life to them, but yet you don't want to be around them,
that's a problem.
You're not excited about being with them before you get married.
You're a loser. Yeah,
you got some problems.
Right? Then what are you doing? Yeah. Like, honestly. So, Song of Solomon. Yes, we're talking about Song of Solomon. 3:4 says.
It was but a little that I passed from them, but I found him whom my soul loveth.
Yes, and obviously that's Song of Solomon is a great chapter for lovers. But it is like I have found whom my soul can love,
right?
And that is a relationship that I choose her. And I like what's his name? Sacred Marriage. Gary Thomas. He has a little quick question for people like. Why do you love your spouse?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And if you know the trick, you're like, oh, I know why. But if you're like, well, because she's nice and she's beautiful and she's kind, well, what if she's no longer beautiful? And what if she's no longer kind? And what if she's no longer nice? Do you stop loving her? And it's like, no, you love her because you have chosen her. Yeah. She is yours because you have chosen her. And you said, that is the one I'm going to love. And so love at the ultimate end is a choice. Yeah. It's an action. It's not just a feeling. Even though we just got done talking about, hey, you got to have some kind of feelings. But it is based in, hey, I'm going to do this because I choose to do this. And it's
and you're right. If you're basing it upon appearance,
right?
I mean, time takes its toll on all of us. Yeah.
We're getting older.
I used to have black hair.
Yes. At least you have hair.
Well, that's true. See, that's another point. Right. Yeah. So yeah, if there's no foundation to build on, you got trouble.
And things don't always go well, and you have to choose. So that's where the character part comes in. Yeah. And do you want someone just to flee because you no longer look good? Yeah. Or because what happens if you get in an accident and you're disfigured?
Yeah.
Hopefully that person is there for you in thick and thin, for good, for better, for worse. The vows. Right. The vows mean nothing to Americans because what we really want is for richer and health, for better, for good, we don't want all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact is, there is going to be bad things in life. It just happens, and it may come from outside sources. It doesn't have to be within, but it could come in many shapes and sizes. So anyway, that's just kind of a help. So if you are out there looking and for a husband and wife, I think these are some maybe good helps. What do you say?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Or if you know somebody. Tell them to listen.
Yeah, tell them to listen and
or watch,
click and subscribe and all that. We're almost up to 200 subscribers on YouTube. So maybe we'll have a prize if we get to 200. Maybe not. But maybe if we get to 250, I think that's a good accomplishment if we get 250. Yeah. Someone at the wedding said, man, if with your numbers, you're in like the top 5% of podcasts. And I'm like, oh, yippee. I'll tell my listeners we're in the top 5%.
Hey, you maybe do it a little more. With a little more enthusiasm.
Hey, man, we are in the top 5.
There you
go. Inconceivable. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, well, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And thank you again. And we will see you guys next week.
Hi, I'm Joshua Charleston, the producer for The Mike Charleston Show. If you enjoyed listening to the show, please help us spread the word by liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a review, or just tell a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to be a part of the show, please email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. We look forward to hearing from you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show. The Mike Charleston Show.